back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Joe Villegas. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. She's an entrepreneur, a TEDx speaker, and the host of Grit, Grace, and Glitz podcast, which I've had the honor of being on. Welcome to the show, Erika Rothenberger. Erika, how are we doing?
Oh, so great. Couldn't be more thrilled to be here with you today, Joe.
Fantastic. I'm pumped. We're going to get into a lot today. I know you've got an incredible story. I mean, you are somebody who I have trouble keeping up with just on a phone call because you're so high energy. So I can't wait to share all your insights and positive energy with the viewers today. What I want to do, though, is I want to start and get right into it. Tell us your story, Erika. How did you get into entrepreneurship, some of the ups and downs, maybe some insights that you've learned along the way? I want to start there and share that with the viewers.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you again so much for having me today. And I just get so excited to talk about this topic because in hand, I feel like we're all entrepreneurs in our own little way. But what I'll tell you is that, when I think about where mine really started, I was just a young kid. I remember going through my neighborhood and it was $1 an hour a kid. And I would go around with flyers and try to find mothers or fathers who needed me to babysit, right? So at a very young age, probably before I was even legally allowed to really be watching other children at that time, right, I was doing it. Then it turned into my family had a pool and I would actually teach swimming lessons. I would teach swimming lessons in my backyard and teach kids. I got certified and I would run an entire business in my backyard in my bathing suit all summer, teaching kids how to swim, right? So again, at a very early age, I just always had this entrepreneurial spirit about me, about opportunities, what brought me joy, where I could find passion. And hence it is totally trickled into my adult years and really throughout all of my years. And so as an entrepreneur, like I said, I wear a lot of different hats. And, whether it was just this fantasy to just be able to go and create something that's yours, something that you can call your own, whether it was writing a book, starting my podcast, now being a speaker on many, many stages, starting my own wellness business. My husband and I also own a real estate business where we buy properties, we gut them, and we rent them. But the common theme that lies through all of those things are things that I'm passionate about, right? I've always loved health and wellness. It's always been a fun part of my life where it never really feels like work, but yet it gave me such opportunity. Or having my own podcast, meeting other people, connecting with other people, and just next leveling, not only myself, but more so them on my show. Right. And then lastly, loving real estate. I've always been fascinated with construction and real estate. And quite frankly, the reason I'm in corporate America the real estate world or construction world, love just watching something that's dilapidated and maybe doesn't look like it has a lot of value, being able to turn it into something that truly is able to help other people and just be able to prosper in that way. So, and again, it's been a kind of a common theme with me that I've just absolutely loved investing in yourself, in your wealth, in your mindset, and being like, what can I turn this into? Some of my things have absolutely failed, but I will tell you all through and through, when you stay consistent and you have that passion, it's remarkable what can actually end up happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you do so much, and it's funny because I feel like you sort of encompass all the pillars of our show right now, right? Which is health, wealth, and ultimately fulfillment. And a word that I think perfectly describes you, if you were to ask me, if I may, is the word passionate. Like, you are such a passionate person, and I feel like you don't step into something unless you're fully passionate about it, because when you do anything, you go 100%. There's no doubt about that. And I think you and I would both agree it does begin with your health and wellness, right? You can't do all these crazy entrepreneurial things that you're doing. Running one business is hard enough, let alone multiples, without making sure you're taking care of yourself first. So if it's okay with you, I would love to kind of jump into what are some of the routines or rituals or things that you have around health and wellness to keep yourself so sharp and so high energy throughout each day?
Yes, love that question. And I love that we both share such a common passion there. And I really believe it's the foundation to everything we do. Yes. Whether we're trying to show up as parents, we're trying to show up as entrepreneurs, we're trying to show up for our significant others in all other capacities of our life. And I always say, you can never go out and buy your health, right? You can't go out and exchange it. No matter how much money you have in the bank, you can't produce it. You can't make ailments go away, right? A lot of it really comes from what you are doing to be proactive instead of reactive. And it's kind of the way that I've lived my entire life. what can I be doing proactively with my health, and how am I intentionally setting each day to set me up for the best success possible? And as a busy entrepreneur, I need to be able to fire on all cylinders at the highest capacity, majority of the days.
Right.
Let's face it, we're all human. We all have our days where we're not feeling like we're firing on every single cylinder. But all in all, I feel like because I wake up early each morning, I get my mind in the right place, right? I always, always, always start with mindset. I always start with gratitude. I write down all the things I'm grateful for. Secondly, I really think about the things that I want to attract that day. What do I want to bring in my life? What's really important for me to magnetize? What am I really, really trying to achieve? Then I always have my book, like my books, my mindset books. I have 4 books, 2 that are really spiritual and 2 that, are a little bit more on just lifestyle. Yeah. And I read them each morning. I take about 5 minutes, and I actually, in order to hold myself accountable, take a picture and put them in my stories each day in Instagram and on Facebook, because it holds me accountable. And I will tell you, the days that I don't post it, which are very rare, people actually ask me where they are. So not only am I holding myself accountable, but I know that other people are reading it and enjoying it. And when you can bring joy and bring light to other people, it's remarkable what you can do for your own mental health. Yes. Then there's always movement, every single morning. I don't care if that's a short walk with the dog or that's a vigorous workout that you're going to do, but finding that time to move your body, to sweat, to feel the endomorphins like actually pumping. And then what I'm doing throughout the day to work on mindset, to work on breathing, to maybe add a yoga class in here or there to make sure that I'm staying mentally sharp. A lot of that is the wellness products that I absolutely swear by, use every day, really investing in the amount of protein I'm putting in my body every day. I love taking a nootropic every day, a collagen every day, and an adaptogen every day. The adaptogen has been a game changer, especially since I became a mom, for stress and for phenomenal mental focus. So I really believe whatever foundation and creating a habit, right? Once you start to create a habit, after 3 weeks, it's remarkable how much that will start to stick with you. And after 30 days of really following a habit like that, what it will do, because when you don't do it, then it starts to feel odd, and it no longer feels like work. It feels like it's just part of your daily mode of operation, and it's really become mine.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love that. And there's like all the stuff you just listed out. It's not any one of them is like some crazy, hard, profound thing. It's very simple things just stacked together, right? So things that you said, like, hey, I get up early, you get your day started right away, you do some gratitude practice, you're focusing on, reading and putting good stuff into your brain, right? Just like you'd put good food in your body, you gotta feed your brain the good stuff as well. You're moving, I'm assuming you're hydrating too, that's probably a given, right? You're taking your supplements and all those things, but that is the daily routine. And those days, those wins stacked over and over again are what help contribute to this like massive energy that you have when you go and tackle the day. So I just love that. And I think for folks watching, like, you don't have to necessarily have this like crazy morning routine. You can literally pick one thing. Maybe it's just a gratitude practice. Maybe it's just taking your dog for a walk or walking your kids to the bus, but pick something. And like you said, Erika, just do it consistently. That's really what the ticket is do that consistently over and over again.
Right.
I'm curious.
And maybe just making some small little tweaks, like maybe that's sleeping an extra 15 minutes. Maybe that's drinking an extra 20 ounces of water. Maybe that's just exercising for an extra, instead of, cutting the corner on, when you take that walk around the neighborhood, like go that extra loop, like whatever it is. And again, like you said, it's not these big things. I'm not going out and running a marathon every day. I'm not reading a 300-page book every week. It's just the little things that add that consistency. If we improve ourselves by just 1% every day, that's a 37% overall improvement over the entire year. Like, that's just remarkable. Like, it's not a lot of work. It's the little bit of work, the little building blocks that can lead to something absolutely magnificent.
Yes, 100%. I love that. Now, I'm curious, is there anything in the evening time that you do to like wind down or loosen up, connect with the family? Like, what are some other, like I said, kind of rituals, habits that you have on the end of the day to sort of bookend it?
Yeah, and I think it's really making a priority. Still like putting my kids down at night, right? Like it's just part of like my ritual where like it calms me down. Maybe just reading a childhood book, right, with them, or snuggling in bed or whatever that may be, but really being able to relax and allow myself to recognize. For so long I used to be like, well, I got to get back up and I got to work for 2 hours, or I got to get this done. Now it's really my time. Like when I put them down, it's my time to go to bed too. I get up at 3:45 every morning. So by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm like done. And my brain capacity just doesn't work the way that it used to at that time, right? Or nor did it really ever. I used to think it did, but I recognized that sleep was equally as important, and finding that time to make sure, I'm washing my face and I'm taking the time to really read a couple pages in my book, and I'm trying to put the phone away and not have it be the last thing that I'm looking at right before I go to bed, right? Like, and just making that routine, that special time with my children, and being able to really get into a sound Zen sleep. Again, very typically, I actually take an adaptogen before I go to bed, and try to always have some sort of source of protein later in the evening that's going to allow me to have that extra restorative sleep.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And again, nothing wild and crazy and out there. Really simple, basic stuff. Even simpler than the morning, right? It's like, hey, I just don't want to have like really any screen time, and you want to go from screen time to me time, right? Let's just get some you time down, and whether maybe it is reading again or it's cuddling with the kids or whatever, you're sort of just unplugging, which is, I think, a great idea. Disconnect from the day, disconnect from the email, all the madness, and just take some time for yourself, which I feel like most of us don't do enough of that. So I'm
correct.
Yeah. So I think we can all take a page out of your book on that one, which is fantastic. So Erika, now that we've kind of covered some of your wellness practices, which set you up for the day, let's talk about the entrepreneurship side of things. I know we talk about financial wellness on this show a bit, and probably the main way that you can really control your destiny, right, is becoming an entrepreneur and getting into business for yourself in any capacity, right? Whether you're part of a larger organization or you're doing it yourself. And you're doing this in kind of multiple different ways. So would love for you to kind of dive into, like, you already talked about your story and how you got started, but today, what does that look like? You're doing the wellness stuff, you're doing the real estate stuff. Is it, hey, I just do all these things all day, every day? Is it, hey, Fridays are dedicated to just this one business and Mondays are this? Like, how do you manage all these different things?
Right. And I think that starts out really on my week, right? When I look at my Sunday, I always defend my time, where I'm going to fit everything in, right? Just like defending your time if, like, say you're one that like goes and gets your nails done, or you're one that like needs to make sure that you go to the gym every day, or you're one that, needs to make sure you pick up your kids from practice, right? Just like that would be on the calendar. You have to put the time on the calendar to work towards those goals. And I think oftentimes, right, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? But it's really what we do with it. And it's really maximizing systems, and it's really maximizing efficiency. Right. So being an engineer by schooling, I've always loved processes. I've loved systems, and really finding out, okay, what part of my day, and it's not necessarily working longer, it's working smarter. Right. And that's really what I try to always do. Okay, what's a better way to get from point A to point B? And sometimes I'm going to point C, and sometimes I'm not always going in a straight line, and sometimes I back up and take 7 steps backwards, but that's all part of this process, right? It's all part of saying, hey, how can I build these efficiencies? So when I look at my week, I find out, like, hey, listen, I know this week's gonna be really busy because maybe my husband's traveling for work, and maybe I'm more on kid duty than normal, like, and being able to adjust accordingly, but setting those expectations in my head so I don't, 1, let myself down, nor 2, let my goals or my consistency down. Maybe I have to navigate it a little differently. Maybe those nights are the nights where I have to get up and work for that extra hour in the evening because I wasn't able to do something during the day because, I was carting kids around to several different practices where maybe normally we would take dual duty on that. Right. So just really defending that time and finding that time. And when I do that on my calendar, it makes the week flow so much better, right? It's not that sometimes I don't miss an appointment with myself, or sometimes I don't still get the checkbox off the to-do list done, but it's recognizing that, listen, if I want to work towards these goals, I have to put the time on my calendar and find that time of when I can do that. And to me, that is not for everyone, but for me, people are like, why do you get up at 3:45 in the morning? I'm like, because between 3:45 and 6:45, my brain works the best. Like, I am high energy, high function, high focus. So for instance, I'm getting ready to deliver a keynote in 2 weeks here. Right. And this past Saturday morning, like, I knew it was lingering over me, right? I didn't get to it the week, even though I had it defended on my calendar. Things got came in between, and that's going to happen. Sure. So I was like, I got to get this done so it's not lingering over me Saturday night and Sunday. So I got up super early Saturday morning, right? And I just worked for 2 hours, right? And between the hours of 4 and 6, I probably got done what I would be able to get done between, like, say, the hours of 8 and 12, a.m., like 8 p.m., 12 a.m. Right. because it's just when I work best. So I really think it's also finding the times when you have the most brain capacity and when you're most high function is defend that time on your calendar of those when you're going to get those tougher goals done and those tougher projects done.
Definitely. No, I love that. And I want to continue this conversation about managing, and I love how you put it, defending your time, because it's so critical if you want to really achieve anything, right? It's setting that aside. So we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to keep hearing all these amazing insights from Erika. So we'll see you very soon. Hey, it's Coach Joe here, and I want to thank you for checking out this episode of Real Results. Since becoming a coach over a decade ago and getting to help tons of people make incredible transformations, I've made it my mission to find the most effective tools to help people change their health and ultimately their life. As a thank you for watching this episode, I've created a series of free mini courses, downloads, and resources that you can use to create real change in your life. Simply click the link in the description or head over to www.resultswithjoe.com and click on the free resources tab. All you have to do is sign up using your best email address, and you'll have access to all the resources straight away so you can start to create real change in your life. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, and let's enjoy the rest of this episode. Welcome back to Real Results. Again, today I'm here with Erika Rothenberger, and we're just getting through how Erika manages her time, because that is critical. And I love the way you put it, Erika, in defending your time and keeping things straight on your calendar. Now, I know you're a mother of two. I'm a father myself, so selfishly, I kind of want to pick your brain a bit on how you balance all that you're doing while being a parent, making time for your family, for your husband, all those sorts of things. So you mentioned on Sundays is kind of when you begin to look at the week and block things out, but would love to kind of hear from you, if you could share with us and the viewers, like how you juggle being a parent, being a spouse, with all these entrepreneurial ventures that you're on.
Well, first and foremost, it's never easy, right? There's many days that I'm a hot mess express and trying to juggle from here and run to there and make this all happen. At the end of the day, though, what I will say is my family's my priority, right? So just like defending my calendar, they get first dibs on there, right? Like today, for instance, I'll give you an example. My daughter has an art class. She's really into art right now. Cool. It's really important that I get her there. And that starts at 5 o'clock. Well, sometimes it's not always easy being home at 4:30 to get her in the car, to make sure she's fed, to get her to art class, to make sure that I can stay there and to be there. However, it's on my calendar. I block time out to make sure that I can leave the office on time, that I can make sure that I get her there, that I can be present with her, and that, she knows that this is just as much of our priority as a board meeting, a speaking gig, a podcast that I'm doing, that she has time on my calendar just like she deserves, right? And like I said, there's sometimes though, like where I do need to travel and I may not be at my son's football game, right? And acknowledging it though, telling my kids, listen, because mommy's doing this, and making them part of it, making them understand that sometimes hard work and sometimes goals take sacrifices, right? Okay, I can't be at the game because of this, because I'm doing this, but it's because we're trying to go on this vacation and or we're working towards this goal. And when you make them part of the goals, I think the burn or the sting of mom not always being there is okay, right? And I think also recognizing that they become really self-sufficient and they're watching you go after dreams and goals that are supporting not only yourself, but really your entire family. And, I love to tell the story that like my son 2 years ago, he was 8 years old and said, Mom, I want to start my own business. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to be a professional football player. I was like, okay, listen, I love the goal. I don't want to smash it, but that obviously at age 8 would be a little bit challenging to do. I've never heard that happen. However, what do you get passion doing? And he was like, I love sports. So we mustered all these different ideas, this, that, the other. Long story short, we live on a golf course. We started a company for him called Hole in One. He goes out all winter long, collects the golf balls that all the golfers lost. So if you're a bad golfer, he absolutely loves you. Cleans them, sorts them, and then sells them on T-Box One, because that's where we live, and has made well over $3,000 as a 10-year-old and has invested every dollar back in the bank and has learned skills about entrepreneurship that, quite frankly, I don't think even my MBA taught me, right, at that young age. And so just being able to see that reflection, that a lot of like the sacrifice or time away or, early mornings may take away from the family, it also is bringing can bring your family so much. So I think if you're just looking at it from a different lens versus, hey, what am I losing? Look at what you're gaining and what your family ultimately is seeing because you're making that time. But again, defending the time, that there's priorities where like, I will not miss this, or I will not miss this, or date night has to go on the calendar. And when you put it on the calendar and you treat it like just like any other important business meeting or appointment, it's much more likely not to be missed than to be missed because you maybe fit it in.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I love the fact that obviously they're the priority for sure, right? They're getting first dibs on your time, but you're also bringing them into your world, right? So they're getting to see like, here's like the payoff. Like mom spends all this time doing this entrepreneurial stuff. Here's what that means, not just for you, Erika, but for the family, right? And now they're gaining those skills, which is so super cool. And I'm sure your son was like over the moon, right? He's meeting people, he's making money, he's learning things, he's like, getting out in nature. That's probably another way to look at it too, right? Collecting these golf balls and doing all this stuff. So that is super, super cool. And I'm gonna keep that idea in the back of my mind for my son when he gets a bit bigger. Have him go, run down golf balls and sell them off. So love that idea. Now you mentioned too, Erika, you've got like a lot of speaking gigs come up, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of more of a focus that you've taken in the recent, kind of recent times, is getting on stage, getting in front of people, getting your message out there. I had the pleasure of getting to watch your TEDx talk, which was just amazing, for sure. So I'd love to hear more about, how you're getting out in front of people and doing your public speaking gigs.
Well, again, following your passions. I've always absolutely loved being able to teach, being able to learn, being able to project my voice. I know that the biggest fear in America is public speaking. Yep. It is one of my favorite things to do. So I always say, listen, find the things that just jazz you up, that get you excited, that give you the butterflies in the stomach, that like you could not picture yourself not doing. And when you find those things, go after them and run hard and find a way that you can turn that into one of your passions, one of your projects, one of your profitable businesses. And for me, it's really being able to especially go out and talk to women ERG groups, empowerment groups, conferences. And quite frankly, last year, I had a really tragic event happen to me. I was brutally assaulted. I was almost killed. And it's really what sparked me wanting to be a TEDx speaker and share my story and take something as a victim, turning myself into a survivor, but really learning how to thrive and really learning how to say, okay, listen, like I was given this gift to be able to go share my voice, to share my story, and to make a difference in someone else's life. And it's really what has next leveled me to want to go out there and just share my mission, share my story, empower other people who, quite frankly, need my light right now. And the world is a dark place, right? So find where your light shines the brightest and go after that goal. Go find how you can get there, how you can monetize it, and how you can make it never feel like a day of work.
Yeah, totally. And I think for most folks out there, like everyone has a story, right? Everybody's a novel and they have something to share. I think oftentimes they get lost in like, well, what am I gonna say? And I heard a saying one time I thought was really cool. They said, your mess is your message, right? So the thing that you like probably don't wanna talk about, you're afraid to share, you're afraid to put out there, the thing that you've overcome is the thing that other people need to hear, because they could be where you were a few steps behind, and by hearing you getting through it, they'll be able to push through as well. And like the whole point of me doing this show, right, is to be able to contribute this stuff out to people, whether it's coming out of my mouth or out of the guest's mouth, is be able to share these messages with folks and help them realize that like you don't need to be a superhero to go like follow your dreams. You can do this stuff, and it's very practical, like just like your morning routine. Nothing in that routine was like out of this realm, like crazy. It's very practical, simple things. You're just extremely consistent in stacking it day in and day out, and you can see the result, right? You're running multiple businesses, you're speaking, you're crushing it as a mom, like all that kind of stuff. It's very, very doable. And I think the more people can get over that hump of a little bit of fear in terms of speaking to people and get out and share their message, the greater impact they're going to have, the greater they're going to feel, right? Because they're contributing back to folks around them. And I share the same love for speaking with you as well. Like I love getting in front of groups and coaching and teaching. It's something I'm very passionate about. So to see you out there doing it is just fantastic. So I guess what do you have?
And Joe, I'll ask one more thing. Like,
please.
Don't try to figure it all out. Like, right? Like sometimes you just have to do it afraid, right? Sometimes you have to stumble. Sometimes you have to fall. And sometimes those are the best lessons, right? Sometimes that mess ends up becoming your story, or becoming your training, or becoming your next business. So like I see so many people be like, well, I'll wait next year. I got to take this class. I got to go figure this out. Like,
Right.
just start doing, right?
Yes.
Like, there's nothing better than messy action that can lead to phenomenal results.
Yes, done is better than perfect, I think, 100% of the time, right? And you're going to learn.
Progress over perfection is my motto.
Yes, yeah, and you're going to learn more by doing those first couple of speaking engagements than you're ever going to learn, watching a course, whatever. Like if you said to me, hey Joe, I need you to find somebody to do a speaking gig, and I had two choices of someone who has read 100 books on speaking publicly or someone who's done 100 talks, I'm taking the person who's done 100 talks because they've lived it 100 times. They've actually done it, right? So, for those watching, don't be afraid. Just get out there, get in front of anybody, talk to your family, talk to somebody, but just get the ball rolling. And it is such a fulfilling thing to do, in my opinion, a very fulfilling activity. So, Erika, I know we're kind of coming up, like sort of to the end of our time here, but what sort of like last messages do you want to be able to share with people who might be on the fence about becoming an entrepreneur? They're sitting here watching, going, okay, I think you almost got me, but how can we tip that first domino, and get them making these moves?
Yeah, the piece of advice that has always kind of been given to me, and something that I always think about, is, are you going to wake up 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any inkling that you're like, yep, I am, if I don't go after this or I don't do this,
right,
it's your sign to go after and to figure out what that is. And maybe you're going to figure out, like, it wasn't the right pursuit, or you didn't go down the right path, but don't not unlock Pandora's box,
right,
because you're fearful, right? I always say it's the 4-letter F word, not the one you're all thinking of, but the word fear, right? Like that
right,
mostly keeps us back. Because
yes,
what if people think we're going to do something, we don't do it? What if I say I'm going to write the book and it doesn't happen? What if I say
right,
I'm going to do the speaking and I don't end up getting on a stage? What if I say I'm going to start a podcast and I never launch it? Who cares?
right,
No one else is paying your bills. You're paying your bills. You're designing your life. And the worst thing that I could imagine is sitting on that rocking chair 30, 40, 50 years from now, being like, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, and looking at my great grandkids and being like, I wish I had a better story to tell.
yeah, totally. I love that. And I always tell folks, like, you're the star of your movie, like no one else can act in all the scenes that you're in, right? You're the only one who's in every scene of your movie. So you got to step up and start taking that action. So Erika, thank you so much for joining today. How can folks find you if they want to check you out speaking, follow you on social media? Where can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I would love you to check out my website, www.erikarothenberger, all one word.com. I'm sure it will go in the show notes. Also on Instagram, Facebook, and or LinkedIn.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's such a pleasure having you here. And for those watching, we will see you on the next episode of Real Results.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Hi,